Across the endless lavender fields of Lavendou village, the summer sky cast a gentle light, illuminating the serene landscape of the French countryside. A soft breeze carried the signature fragrance of lavender, but for Céline Moreau, its beauty felt distant and unreachable amidst the worries clouding her life. At 30, Céline had been a devoted primary school teacher, bringing joy and learning to the children of the village's small school. However, when the school was forced to close due to lack of funding, Céline lost the job she loved and her sole source of income. As a single mother, she bore the responsibility of raising her 7-year-old daughter, Amélie, with boundless love and unwavering determination. Their modest home, tucked at the end of a cobblestone road, was a repository of cherished memories for the two of them. Yet with mounting bills and the looming threat of losing their home, every passing day brought new anxieties. Céline tried to maintain a cheerful facade for Amélie, but at night, after her daughter had fallen asleep, she often sat alone under the dim light, calculating how to navigate their growing challenges. One morning, while walking Amélie to the small village church, an old friend happened upon her and shared news of a unique opportunity. Julien Beaumont, a successful businessman, was seeking a nanny for his son, Leon. It was said that Julien resided in a grand mansion in the village center, a place rumored to always feel cold and unwelcoming, and that Leon was a headstrong and distant child. "This job won't be easy," the friend cautioned, "but the pay is excellent and they need someone experienced with children. I think you should give it a try." Céline hesitated. The thought of leaving the familiarity of her home to work in an unfamiliar and intimidating environment made her anxious. Yet looking into Amélie's bright, innocent eyes, she knew she couldn't pass up this chance. She needed to create a better life for her daughter, no matter the challenges ahead. The following day, Céline dressed in her simplest yet most presentable attire, holding Amélie's hand as they passed through the towering iron gates of the Beaumont estate. Before them lay a new opportunity, uncertain, daunting, yet brimming with hope. Welcome to Soul Stories. Today we bring you a heartwarming tale. Let us know which city you're tuning in from around the world. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to catch more meaningful stories. Chapter 1. The First Encounter. Céline and Amélie stood before the towering gates of the Beaumont estate, a striking presence amidst the tranquil countryside. The wrought iron gates, entwined with lush green vines, hinted at the grandeur beyond, a sprawling garden meticulously groomed, yet exuding an eerie coldness. "Mom, this place looks like a castle," Amélie whispered, her wide eyes filled with wonder. Céline gently squeezed her daughter's hand, masking her own unease. "It does, sweetheart, but it might also be where I work if they decide to hire me." The gates creaked open slowly, their groan echoing in the still air, as though inviting them into another world. They stepped through to find a grand classical mansion with dark gray rooftops, large windows, and ornate wrought iron balconies. The atmosphere was solemn, weighed down by a lack of warmth that made it feel more like a museum than a home. Waiting at the front steps was Julien Beaumont. Tall and impeccably dressed in a tailored suit, his dark brown hair was slightly tousled, giving him a disheveled charm. Yet his solemn demeanor and somber eyes suggested a depth of pain hidden beneath his composed exterior. "Ms. Moreau," Julien greeted in a deep, polite voice, "thank you for coming. And this must be your daughter?" He glanced briefly at Amélie, managing a polite smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Yes, this is Amélie. I think she'll enjoy making friends with Leon," Céline replied, striving to maintain her composure. Julien nodded and motioned them inside. The interior of the mansion was adorned with antique furniture and priceless oil paintings, exuding an air of prestige, but the lack of liveliness made it feel strangely hollow. "I'll introduce you to Leon shortly," Julien said, his voice steady but tinged with hesitation. "But before that, I need to let you know, this job won't be easy. Leon is a special child." His tone faltered and a shadow crossed his face. Céline nodded, sensing the weight behind his words. She wanted to ask more, but was interrupted by a loud crash from upstairs. "Leon," Julien sighed, rubbing his temples. "I suppose it's best if you meet him now." Descending the grand staircase, Leon made his first appearance. The 9-year-old boy with messy black hair and piercing eyes regarded Céline and Amélie with an intensity that was both wary and defiant. "So, this is the new nanny?" Leon asked, his voice dripping with challenge. "How long do you think you'll last? A week? Maybe two?" Celine maintained her warm smile, though the boy's boldness caught her off guard. "That depends on you, Leon. If you help me, I might stay even longer." Leon raised an eyebrow, clearly not expecting such a response. Muttering under his breath, he turned on his heel and stomped back upstairs, leaving Celine standing with a mix of amusement and uncertainty. Julian sighed deeply. "As I said, Leon isn't easy. He's been through a lot, especially after his mother passed away." Those words shed light on Leon's behavior. Softening Celine's heart, she gave Julien a reassuring nod. "I'll do my best, Mr. Beaumont. I believe that no child truly wants to disappoint others." In the following days, Leon made every effort to test Celine's patience. He refused to do his lessons, intentionally spilled breakfast, and even hid objects around the house to confuse her. Yet instead of reacting with frustration, Celine observed him quietly. She began to notice little details about Leon: the way he meticulously arranged his model airplanes on the shelf, his habit of gazing out at the garden when he thought no one was looking, and the lingering glances he often cast at a family photo in the living room. A picture of Julien, Leon, and a beautiful woman Celine assumed was Leon's late mother. One afternoon, seeing Leon sitting alone in the garden, Celine decided to approach him. "You like airplanes, don't you?" she asked gently, avoiding any pressure. Leon glanced at her warily. "Yeah, I like building them." Celine smiled warmly. "I have a wooden airplane model. Would you like to try building it with me? Though I have to warn you, I'm not very good. I might mess it up." Leon studied her for a moment, trying to discern her sincerity. Finally, he shrugged. "I'll probably do it better than you." "Well then, let's see," Celine replied, her eyes sparkling with encouragement. As they worked together on the model, Leon began to open up, albeit cautiously. At first, he maintained his guarded demeanor, but gradually he started explaining how to piece the parts together. When they finished, a fleeting smile crossed his face, a small but meaningful sign of trust. Celine knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but she had seen a glimmer of hope in Leon's eyes, a sign that beneath his tough exterior lay a child yearning for connection. Chapter 2. Building Bonds and Unveiling Secrets. The days at the Beaumont estate were anything but easy for Celine. Leon maintained his distant demeanor, frequently testing her patience. Yet Celine refused to be discouraged. She firmly believed that behind his stubborn exterior was a lonely child, longing for someone to care for him in the right way. One afternoon after lunch, Celine noticed Leon sitting quietly by the window in his room. On the desk lay a sheet of paper, smudged with pencil and watercolor marks. She knocked gently on the door, holding 2 cups of warm milk. "I just wanted to bring you some milk," she said softly, careful not to startle him. Leon didn't look up, but didn't tell her to leave either. She placed the milk on the desk and let her gaze fall on the unfinished drawing. It depicted a plane soaring through the sky, rendered with intricate details and vibrant life. "You're very talented," Celine remarked, her voice filled with genuine admiration. Leon immediately pulled the paper toward him, his eyes wary. "Don't look at it. It's not for you to see." Celine smiled gently. "All right, I won't. But I want you to know that you're incredibly gifted. If you ever feel like sharing, I'd love to see more." Leon paused, his guarded expression softening for a brief moment. Although he didn't respond, Celine could sense she had made a small crack in his emotional walls. Emily, with her lively and cheerful nature, quickly became an indispensable part of life at the Beaumont estate. One sunny morning, she grabbed Leon's hand and pulled him toward the garden, ignoring his reluctant protests. "Do you know where we can find some pretty rocks in the garden?" Emily asked, her eyes gleaming with curiosity. "Rocks? What's so great about rocks?" Leon grumbled, but eventually led her to a hidden corner of the estate's expansive garden. Gradually, the two began building a small fortress using branches, stones, and dry leaves. When their creation was complete, Emily plopped onto the ground, looking at Leon with admiration. "You're amazing. I didn't think it would turn out this nice." Leon looked momentarily flustered by her praise, but couldn't hide the faint smile creeping across his face. From that moment, The two children grew closer, their laughter filling the once silent garden and bringing warmth to the previously cold atmosphere of the estate. One evening, after tucking Amelie into bed, Celine walked past the estate's library. A faint light flickered from inside, piquing her curiosity. Peeking through the slightly ajar door, she saw Julian seated in a chair, a glass of wine in one hand, and his gaze fixed on a photograph on the table. The picture was of Julian, his late wife, and a much younger Leon. His face was contemplative, his eyes clouded with indescribable sadness. Celine knocked gently, breaking the heavy silence. "Sorry, I didn't mean to intrude," she said softly. Julian looked up, startled but quickly composed himself. "It's all right. Please, come in." Celine stepped inside, her eyes briefly lingering on the photo. "You have a beautiful family," she said with empathy. Julian nodded, setting his glass down. "Those were the happiest days of my life. But Claire, my wife, passed away 3 years ago. She was ill, and there was nothing I could do to save her." His voice grew quieter, tinged with regret. "Since she's been gone, I felt like a failure. To her and to Leon. I don't know how to reach him anymore." Celine sat across from him, her tone gentle but firm. "Leon needs time, Julian, but he also needs to see that you're there for him. Small gestures, spending time with him, listening to his stories, can make a big difference." Julian was silent for a moment, mulling over her words. "You seem to understand my son better than I do," he said with a faint smile. Celine shook her head. "I'm just lucky to spend time with him every day. But I believe you can do better than anyone else. Leon loves you. He just doesn't know how to show it yet." The brief conversation seemed to unlock a corner of Julian's heart. He realized that to truly help Leon, he needed to overcome his own grief and become more present as a father. In the days that followed, Julian made small but meaningful changes. He joined Leon and Amelie in the garden, listened to Leon's stories, and even helped them build their makeshift fortresses. Celine watched from afar, her heart swelling with hope. Julian's efforts, though modest, began to transform the family dynamic. Leon started smiling more, and the guarded look in his eyes began to fade. One evening, during dinner, Julian unexpectedly complimented a drawing Leon had left on the kitchen table. "You're very talented, Leon. I'm so proud of you," he said warmly. Leon's cheeks flushed, but his eyes sparkled with joy. "Thanks, Dad," he replied, calling Julian Dad for the first time in years. Celine felt her heart warm at the sight. The Beaumont estate, once cold and uninviting, was slowly becoming a home. The barriers between its residents were breaking down, replaced by genuine connection and love. Each small step brought them closer to a brighter, more harmonious future. Chapter 3. Conflict and Challenges. Everything seemed to be warming up at the Beaumont estate when the unexpected arrival of Camille, Julian's sharp and ambitious older sister, disrupted the newfound harmony. Camille, with her poised demeanor and commanding presence, walked into the estate exuding confidence that demanded attention and caution. From the moment she entered the Beaumont household, Camille made no effort to hide her doubts about Julian's parenting abilities. "Julian, do you truly believe you can balance your work and care for Leon?" Camille questioned, her sharp eyes scanning every corner of the house as if searching for signs of failure. Julian, striving to remain composed, couldn't mask his irritation. "Camille, Leon is my son. I don't need a lecture on how to raise him." Camille offered a thin smile. "I'm just suggesting you consider what's best for him. With your busy schedule, can you really give him the attention he needs?" Camille wasted no time executing her plan. She began by showering Leon with extravagant gifts, from high-end Lego sets to a brand new shiny bicycle. "How do you like them? At my house, you'd have everything you could ever want," she said sweetly, her tone laced with subtle manipulation. Leon, sensitive by nature, began to waver. "Aunt Camille said she could spend more time with me than Dad does," he confided in Celine one afternoon, his voice tinged with uncertainty. "Do you believe that's true, Leon?" Celine asked gently. Leon shrugged, his eyes reflecting the internal conflict he was experiencing. One day while tidying up, Celine happened to enter Claire's old study, the late wife of Julian. The room had been left untouched since Claire's passing, with books neatly stacked on the shelves and delicate decorations still in place. In a small drawer of the desk, Celine found a handwritten letter, its edges worn with time. The letter bore Claire's graceful handwriting and was addressed to Julian, though it seemed to have never been read. With a mix of curiosity and reverence, Celine began to read, "Julian, I know Camille loves our family, but I can't help but worry. Her need for control and ambition sometimes go too far. I fear that if you ever face difficulties, Camille might not help you, but instead try to take control. Always put Leon first, no matter what happens." Celine felt her heart clench as she folded the letter. She realized it could be the key to confronting Camille. That evening, Celine approached Julian in the library, where he sat deep in thought. She handed him the letter. "Julian, I think you need to read this," she said softly. Julian's hands trembled slightly as he unfolded the paper and read each line. By the end, his grip tightened on the letter, his expression a mixture of sorrow and resolve. "Claire always saw things so clearly," he murmured. "Camille is trying to manipulate Leon," Celine said gently but firmly. "She's not doing this for him. She's doing it for herself." Julian's gaze sharpened, determination replacing his sadness. "You're right. I won't let her tear my family apart. I have to protect Leon." The next day, Julian confronted Camille directly. "Camille, I know what you're doing. Trying to take Leon away from me stops here," he declared firmly. Camille raised an eyebrow, her lips curling into a smirk. "Julian, I'm only doing what's best for Leon. I can provide him with a better life." Julian placed Claire's letter on the table between them. "This is what Claire thought about you. She knew your ambitions could overshadow what's best for our family, and I believe her." Camille's confidence wavered momentarily as her eyes scanned the letter, but she quickly recovered. "I just want to help you, Julian. But if you don't want my help, I won't stand by and watch Leon be neglected like this." "Leon is not neglected. I love my son, and I'll prove it," Julian said with unshakable conviction. Camille wasn't willing to give up easily. She continued to plant doubts in Leon's mind, questioning Julian's dedication to him. However, Celine, with her unwavering patience and honesty, worked to help Leon see what truly mattered. "Your mother once wrote that what's most important is feeling loved, not gifts or promises," Celine said during a quiet conversation with Leon. "What do you think your dad has done to show his love?" Leon was silent for a long time. Then his mind flashed to moments when Julian read stories with him or built forts with Amelie. "He always tries," Leon admitted softly. "That's right," Celine said with a warm smile. "Love isn't about being perfect. It's about always trying for each other." When Camille pressed Leon to choose between her and Julian, Leon finally stood his ground. His voice, though small, carried remarkable strength. "I want to stay with my dad," he said firmly. Camille looked stunned for a moment, but then sighed, recognizing defeat. She left the estate, leaving Julian, Leon, and Celine feeling a wave of relief. Julian knelt before Leon, wrapping him in a tight embrace. "I'm sorry I haven't always been there for you, but I promise I'll do better." "I know you love me, Dad," Leon replied, for the first time initiating a heartfelt hug with his father. The bonds within the Beaumont family grew stronger that day, laying the foundation for a future filled with trust, love, and hope. Are you still following the story? If yes, comment pizza. Chapter 4. The Resolve to Protect the Family. The Beaumont estate was no longer serene. The tension stemming from Camille's determination to win custody of Leon loomed heavily over the household. Julian knew that if he didn't act decisively, he might lose the chance to protect his son. With a heavy heart, he decided to take the matter to court, a challenging choice, but the only way to safeguard his family. Julian spent days in discussions with his lawyer, meticulously preparing evidence to prove that he was a devoted father. Celine, with her unwavering patience and love for Leon, became Julian's greatest source of encouragement. "You can do this," Celine reassured him, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. "Leon knows you love him. All you need to do is show everyone else the same." Leon, though young, was acutely aware of the gravity of the situation. He sat quietly next to Celine and Amelie, occasionally glancing up with worried eyes. Celine gently stroked his hair, her voice soft and reassuring. "Leon, You don't need to be afraid. Remember, you're not alone. We're all here to get through this together. The trial took place in a small courthouse near the village. The courtroom, with its towering walls and stark lighting, radiated an intimidating solemnity. Julian sat beside his lawyer, his expression calm yet betraying underlying tension in his eyes. Camille entered with an air of confidence. Beside her was a top-tier lawyer she had hired to strengthen her argument that Julianne was unfit to care for Leon. Camille's lawyer wasted no time painting a picture of Julian as a work-obsessed father neglecting his parental duties. Mr. Beaumont is an accomplished businessman, the lawyer began firmly, but his success comes at the expense of his responsibilities as a father. His son, Leon, has grown up with little to no consistent presence from his father. Camille chimed in, her voice laced with feigned concern. I only want to ensure Leon has a stable life and proper care. Julian, despite his best intentions, clearly cannot provide that. The lawyer then turned to Celine. And Ms. Moreau, who is she? He asked with skepticism. A newcomer with no prior experience in childcare, clearly not part of this family. How can we trust her to bring stability to Leon's life? Celine remained composed, though a quiet indignation stirred within her. She knew she couldn't allow Camille's words to shake her resolve. The trial's climax came when Leon was called to the stand. The boy walked slowly to the witness chair, his small frame and hesitant steps reflecting the weight of the moment. Julian and Celine watched him intently, silently praying for his courage. The judge leaned forward with a gentle tone. Leon, can you tell us how you feel about your father? Leon took a deep breath, his voice small but clear. My dad loves me. He always tries to spend time with me, even though he's busy. I know he does everything for me. Camille's lawyer attempted to undermine his statement. But Leon, have you ever felt like your father doesn't have enough time for you? Leon hesitated briefly before answering. Yes, but he always tries. He reads to me, helps me with my drawings, and plays with me. That makes me feel loved. The young boy then turned to Camille, his voice trembling but firm. Aunt Camille gives me gifts, but I don't want to leave my dad. I want to stay here, with him and Ms. Celine. Julian rose to his feet, his voice thick with emotion. I am not a perfect father, but I love my son more than anything in the world. I've made mistakes, but I am working every day to be better. Leon doesn't need perfection. He needs a father who will always be there for him, and I will always be there. Celine also stepped forward to testify. Leon is a wonderful boy, and I am not here to replace anyone. My role is to support Julian in creating a loving and nurturing home for Leon. What Leon needs most is to feel heard and loved, and Julian is giving him that. After carefully reviewing all the evidence and testimonies, the judge delivered the verdict. Custody of Leon will remain with Mr. Julian Beaumont. The court recognizes that Mr. Beaumont has demonstrated his commitment to his son's well-being, and Leon has expressed his desire to stay with his father. The courtroom fell silent for a moment before Julian let out a deep sigh of relief. Celine smiled through her tears as she watched Julian embrace Leon tightly. Camille, though visibly disappointed, accepted her defeat with a cold demeanor and left the courtroom. Back at the Beaumont estate, Julian knelt before Leon, his eyes glistening with tears. I'm so sorry for putting you through this, but I promise I'll always be here for you. Leon wrapped his arms around Julian in a rare moment of vulnerability. I know, Dad, he said softly. Celine and Amélie stood nearby, their hearts swelling with joy. Julian turned to Celine, his gratitude evident in his gaze. I couldn't have done this without you. Thank you, Celine. Celine smiled, her voice gentle. This isn't just your victory, Julian. It's a victory for all of us, as a family. Together they embraced the dawn of a new chapter, one filled with love, trust, and hope, as the Beaumont family began to heal and grow stronger than ever. Chapter 5. Love and Hope. After the court trial ended, the atmosphere at the Beaumont estate brightened considerably. Julian retained custody of Leon, and the family felt a sense of relief, as if a great burden had been lifted. We've made it through, my son, Julian said, kneeling down to embrace Leon tightly. I'm so proud of you. Leon smiled, a genuine smile for the first time in a long while. He looked up at Julian and replied, I'm proud of you too, Dad. Celine and Amelie stood nearby, witnessing the heartfelt reunion. Amelie held her mother's hand and whispered, Mom, we did it, didn't we? Celine nodded, her eyes glistening with tears. Yes, Amelie, we did it. Life at the Beaumont estate gradually returned to a peaceful rhythm. Julian spent more time with Leon, playing games, reading stories, and exploring new ideas together. Celine continued to assist Julian in caring for Leon while also encouraging the boy's artistic talents. One afternoon, Julian invited Celine for a walk through the lavender fields, where the golden afternoon sun bathed the land in a warm glow. The endless stretches of purple flowers swayed gently in the breeze, their fragrance enveloping them. Celine, Julian began, his voice soft yet filled with emotion. You've changed everything in my life. Not only did you help me keep Leon, but you also brought back the hope I thought I had lost forever. Celine turned to look at Julian, her eyes shining with surprise and emotion. Julian, I only did what felt right. You and Leon deserve to be happy. Julian stopped walking and pulled a small box from his pocket. Kneeling amidst the lavender fields, his eyes radiated sincerity. Celine Moreau, you didn't just help me find my family again. You became the family I want to build. Will you marry me? Celine was momentarily speechless, her tears spilling over with joy. She nodded, a radiant smile lighting up her face. Yes, Julian, I will. Julian slipped the ring onto her finger, and they sealed the moment with a tender kiss under the golden sunset, surrounded by the gentle aroma of lavender. Their wedding was simple yet heartwarming, held at the Beaumont estate with close friends and family in attendance. Leon and Amelie acted as ring bearers, their joy evident as they saw Julian and Celine begin a new chapter together. After the wedding, Celine became an integral part of the Beaumont family. She encouraged Leon to pursue his passion for art by helping him open a small gallery in the village, where he could display and share his creations. Amelie and Leon grew closer, spending their days exploring the garden, playing treasure hunts, and building miniature houses out of branches. Their bond evolved from friendship into a sibling-like connection. Julian, too, transformed. He restructured his work commitments to prioritize his family. Evenings were spent gathered around the dining table, sharing stories and laughter. One day, as the sun began to set, the family stood together on the grand balcony of the estate. Below them, the lavender fields stretched endlessly, painted in hues of gold and purple by the sunset. Julian took Celine's hand, his gaze filled with gratitude. Celine, thank you. You brought love and hope back to this family. Celine smiled, leaning her head against his shoulder. And I found my family here too. Together, we made this happen. Leon and Amelie stood beside them, holding drawings they had made together. We're a family now, right, Dad? Leon asked, his eyes shining with happiness. Yes, Leon. We are a family, Julian replied. As the sunset cast its blessings over them, it symbolized a future full of hope and love. The story of the Beaumont family came to a close, but their journey was just beginning, rooted in love and strengthened by their shared belief in a brighter tomorrow. This story reminds us that love, compassion, and perseverance can overcome any challenge. Family is not just about blood ties, it's about the bonds we choose to nurture and the trust we build together. True happiness lies in sharing and creating a meaningful life with those we hold dear. Thank you for following this story. Please rate it from 1 to 5 stars, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our Soul Stories channel. Your support is the motivation for us to continue bringing more great stories.